I'm Dane Scott with Pocket Frog.
Getting down with the gear today.
You got it. I'm going to be talking about this little $39.95 microphone today and how I made $15,000 with it recently. And in general, what is and isn't important about gear when it comes to voiceovers. That's next.
3, 2, 1.
Studio Takes. Real help for the aspiring voiceover artist.
Pocket Frog is in the house.
Come on, give Pocket Frog some love.
Yep, let's hear from you in the comments. Also, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up today. And at the end, a $100 freebie that'll help turn you into a demo-making monster.
Okay, time to join the party for real.
Yep, and let's start with this. It's a notification from Sweetwater that my Neumann U87 is on its way back. It's shipping. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be here today. It's been in the shop for almost 2 months. All right, here's the backstory. One morning in early February, I sat down to do my daily batch of voiceovers, and when I played back the first little passage of the first one that I recorded with my Neumann, I knew something was very wrong. It sounded tinny. Something was definitely not right. What in the world? Well, I went through all the usual steps to kind of narrow down the problem, and it kept coming back to the microphone, which fortunately was still under warranty. So, after the usual correspondence and so forth, off it went to Sweetwater where I had purchased it. But what to do in the meanwhile? Well, I did have a backup plan, an inexpensive little condenser mic that I had tested and I felt would stand in, adequately for me if I ever had the need. It was just sitting on a shelf, ready to go. As a matter of fact, I had done a review of it and compared it to my previous Neumann, the 103, a while back. Let's actually watch that. While I was interviewing VO Pro Bill DeWeese for an upcoming Udemy course called Gig Winner, a guide to creating a winning voiceover demo, Bill mentioned a mic he's pretty impressed by, especially for the price.
There's a new mic that just came out, and by the way, I don't get paid for saying this, so there's no financial incentive, but it's called a Fifine, F-I-F-I-N-E K670. And it's $50. I actually did a video. I did a review on my YouTube channel about it. I couldn't believe how great this thing sounded. And my son, who's an audio engineer, also reviewed it, and he was equally impressed. But the specs on it and the sound are outstanding.
Well, following the principle that you can never have too many microphones and the fact that I actually did need an emergency backup mic, I ordered it, and it arrived today. I didn't waste any time trying it out and thought I'd immediately do a test recording of it and of my Neumann and see how the two stacked up against each other. Unfair comparison? Probably, but I think you'll agree the Fifine held up pretty well. Briefly, I set up each mic at the traditional hand's breadth away. I chose one as the input source first and recorded some copy. Then I got at the same angle, the same distance from the other mic and recorded the same copy again. Here's what I got. First, here's the Fifine. The most significant event for the last 75 years that transformed and fueled manufacturing, agriculture, and the economy was World War II. The Great War finally ended, and the world was at peace. With the enemy defeated and the rebuilding of Europe at hand, the world felt a sense of security and prosperity. Now here's the Neumann. The most significant event for the last 75 years that transformed and fueled manufacturing, agriculture, and the economy was World War II. The Great War finally ended, and the world was at peace. With the enemy defeated and the rebuilding of Europe at hand, the world felt a sense of security and prosperity. As you can tell, the Fifine has a nice rich sound, matched the Neumann for noise floor, and could certainly be used for professional voiceovers. Would I take it over the Neumann? No, the sound isn't quite as refined and maybe has a little brassiness to it, but I think it's fair to say that if I were to fulfill orders for clients using the Fifine, I wouldn't hear any complaints. It's a very clean-sounding audio, a little bit of low-end beef to the sound, and the actual mic has a nice hefty feel to it. It comes with a weighty stand that holds it stably and even has a rubberized mat underneath to keep it from skidding around. And it has a standard mount, so that means you can screw it onto a boom-style mic stand, which you might prefer because the desk stand's stem isn't really very tall. All in all, though, a pretty huge bargain for under $50, and I think it's an easy pick for somebody who's just starting out in voiceovers. Okay, so I had a reasonable level of confidence that the Fifine could work for me. But of course, putting that theory into day-to-day test, that's another matter. Fortunately, it didn't take me too long to realize I was going to be okay. I just mounted the Fi-Fine onto my scissor boom, like you see it here, mic stand, and I plugged one end of the USB cable into the Fi-Fine and the other end of the USB cable right into the Mac. No interface box needed. And I just tweaked the levels. There's a little adjustment knob right here on the microphone. And it didn't take much twiddling before I had it in a good range for a recording level. Next, I did a little test recording, actually several of them, just to make sure that we were good. And I listened back carefully. And yes, it did sound different than the U87, but, we would expect it to. And there was nothing distractingly bad about it at all. Matter of fact, you're listening to it right now. So I thought maybe I would do this video before the Neumann gets back here, possibly today, and I make the switch back. So what you hear is what I have been recording with since around February 9th. So that's almost 2 months that I've been just using this little $39 microphone. I do a pretty good voiceover business these days. So yeah, there was something at stake for sure, being without my main mic like that. So even though I had a reasonable amount of confidence that I was going to be okay with this mic, those first few voiceovers with the new mic were a little tentative. But there was an underlying feeling in there, after all, that the mic wasn't really the main thing anyway. I've always felt that it's more about the delivery, what I do with my voice, that's going to be the most important thing. So if anything, I just, put more of myself into every voiceover that I did. I worked to try and be the best I could be on each one and tried to match, what the client seemed to need from me. As it turned out, Neumann, the company, was kind of backlogged, so service took a while, almost 60 days. And in the meanwhile, it has gone pretty well between Fi-Fine and me. How has it gone? Well, in the intervening time, I've done hundreds of voiceovers, and I've had not one complaint about this mic. And nothing about the tone, nothing about the sound of it, anything like that. None. And, the interesting thing about it is quite a few of these voiceovers that I did were for people who have used me in the past. Did anyone say, hey, did you switch mics? No, not one. I think that's pretty remarkable considering that this mic here that I've been using is nearly 1/100th the cost of the U87. So what are the takeaways here? First, that you can ignore the elitists who say that there's no way you can do professional voiceovers with a USB mic. Now, that might have been true in the earlier days, but it's not true now. In my experience, I just don't believe it's true anymore. Second, you do not have to go into debt to go into voiceovers. It's so sad to hear that new people have, they bought into the hype and spent all kinds of money on gear before they even know if they're going to be able to make anything on voiceovers. That's such a big mistake. You can get a Fi-Fine for under $40. And no, I don't have any connection with the company, so this is just me talking here. Rig up a little recording space, which won't necessarily cost you anything, and get a start with this with practically no investment at all. So, what matters? Yes, you need a decent mic, sure. This one will more than handle your needs, especially at first. You need reasonable acoustics. If that means doing them in your car or your van at first, whatever. Don't spend money on stuff until you make some money. So what my experience of Neumann in the shop demonstrates, I think, is that what matters most by far is your voice and how you use it. If you're going to invest resources, especially at first, invest them in doing everything you can to get good at your craft. If that includes voiceover coaching, do it. Ultimately, it's your voice box and your brain that will get you your jobs, not your software or your gear. If I can help in the coaching area, I'd love to. Contact me at thegigdoctor.com and we can set up an initial session together. And if you mention when you schedule with me that you heard about it here in this video, I'll give you a $100 Gig Winners Demo Creation course, no charge. It has 5 superstar voiceover people that are involved as a panel in it, including Bill DeWeese, who you heard earlier in this video, and Mark Grau, one of the busiest character voice people in the country, talking about what goes into making a great demo. Step 1, though, is to visit the link in the comments below and grab an initial coaching session together. In the comments today, feel free to talk about your voiceover journey, where things are at for you. Ask questions if you like. I'll be happy to answer. And give us some feedback on this video. Some good suggestions for follow-up videos that you can watch will come in the seconds after I get done talking here. So stick around and click and just keep going with me. It's always fun to have you with me on these videos. And I'll catch you next time.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.